Do you want a financially secure future, not just for yourself, but for your loved ones as well? This is Generations of Wealth, the podcast that breaks down the most effective wealth building strategies you can easily apply to your own life. Join investor and international best-selling author Derek Dombeck in exploring practical tips and sound advice on building a profitable business, creating a powerful brand, or getting into the thriving world of real estate investing. This is your chance to create your very own financial roadmap to live your vision, love your life. Let's begin this discussion with your host, Derek Dombeck.
Welcome to the Generations of Wealth podcast. I'm your host, Derek Dombeck, and this is the show where we bring on people to help us live our visions and love our lives. And today, I'm happy to bring you an original Wisconsinite, Brian Davidson, and he's not in Wisconsin anymore, but he's still in the Midwest, and we love that about him. Brian, man, thank you so much for joining us. Why don't you just tell the audience a little bit about yourself, and we'll just dive right in.
Sure. Well, thanks for having me on the show, Derek. I guess to spoil the lead, from Wisconsin, originally southeastern Wisconsin, Brookfield area. I've been all over the Midwest, spent a little bit of time out in Colorado. But my passion in life is what I do for a living. And for the last 15 years or so, I've been deep into digital marketing. I guess it's longer than 15 years. It's almost 20 years now. In 2006, I remember going to my boss and telling him, I think we need a social media department. And it took a little bit of convincing, but he said, okay, kid, you're in charge. And I didn't make a lot of money doing it, but I really learned things from the ground floor up. And I still love what I'm doing to this day and how much things keep changing.
Well, for me, and I was talking with you a little bit earlier about, I love doing these interviews because they can be self-serving to myself and, of course, help our listeners. And specifically for me, I'm a real estate investor. I mean, it's just the wild, wild west as far as who do you believe, what's actually working on the different social media platforms, how often should you post, how many, TikToks or Reels or all that stuff. So I would love to just kind of start at the ground floor, if you wouldn't mind. What are most people doing wrong when it comes to their online presence or their, your expertise?
Sure. So I'll talk a little bit about the real estate space, but this applies to almost every space. And most people, when they're just starting off, are very unsophisticated. So they decide they're just going to throw a little money at something and hope that it works. The problem is they rarely have tracking on the back end set up to find out, is it working? They rely on things on a website, like how did you hear about us? Wildly inaccurate. They rely on looking at things like how many clicks happened on my website. That's Google 20 years ago when you're paying for just a click. They look at things like impressions or likes or shares. Those can be bots from China. Boosting engagement. Really, really important that at least at a rudimentary level of putting a phone number on an ad that's dedicated to a specific ad platform or even direct mail flyer for that matter, that things are trackable as much as possible and spending more time on the tracking than actually even on the ad creation.
Okay. So myself, I'm self-admittedly not techie.
Sure.
So when it comes to the tracking and the metrics and the KPIs, that honestly bores the hell out of me to the degree that I have staff that is supposed to do it, right? But if you were to just kind of give me 3 bullet points, what's the most important thing to start with? I know they're all important, but to start with my staff or with our listeners' staff that don't understand the metrics?
Sure. Well, I think there's 2 pieces. One, are you tracking offline or online? For this purpose, we'll talk about online since that's where I'm more of an expert. So one is tracking on your website. The table stakes is simply Google Analytics. They've just upgraded their analytics platform to something called GA4. It's free. It's table stakes. Everyone should be using it. Second, whatever you're using to drive traffic, which is most likely a Facebook, a Google, or a TikTok, making sure that your ad platform is integrated with the website and your tracking is clear so that it flows into Google Analytics. And again, all free. Just installing things within a website, usually using, if you're using a site like a Wix, it'll have automatic tracking built in. Shopify, automatic tracking built in, just hit some settings, whip whap, you're good. If you've got a more traditional, like a WordPress type website, simply something like Google Tag Manager, very easy for deploying code. You don't need to be a coder to do it. I never took a single coding class. I could not code a website, but I can poke around code and launch something on every page. Pretty easy to do. And then I guess the final thing would be back to what I said, I kind of poo-pooed earlier, but think about your message and think about the other person on the side of that message. Just because it's online doesn't mean you're not speaking to someone directly, and really try to focus in on not just who is your customer, because sometimes people get a little too tight. They think my customer is a Wisconsin woman, 50 to 54, who doesn't like cheese. I'm like, okay, that's a pretty specific person.
And a very limited pool.
Absolutely. And that's why it's more important to be a little more broad and thinking about, generally speaking, who am I speaking to? Not so much an age or specific demographic, but more often the feature set of your business, or what do you deliver as value?
Okay. So specifically then, if we were looking at growing your brand by using Facebook, Instagram, the other social media platforms, is there one that you like more than others, or is there a hierarchy?
Yeah, so I think it depends on what you want. There's usually two sides to the marketing funnel. One is demand generation. So you wake up in the morning and you see an ad about something and you think, wow, I really want to buy that new t-shirt or that new hoodie or that new shoe that you definitely don't need, but you might just want. And the second side is demand fulfillment. So I need new shoes. I go to Google, or I go to eBay, or I go to any of the various search engines. I go to Amazon and just type in Nike shoes or running shoes. That's straight demand fulfillment. You're always going to see ads at the top, and more and more and more, they're taking over all the space. So where do you want to sit in the spectrum? Do you want to fit existing demand? Are you a roofer? That would make a lot of sense that you just want, someone wants a roof right now. Boom, I want to appear at the top. It's pretty rare to throw a Facebook ad at someone who doesn't need a new roof and they decide, you know what, today I need a new roof. But obviously demand fulfillment is there all day. And then the second piece is, do you want to pay for it, or do you want to hope to get it organically? If you want to get organic search, that's going to be a long, long game. And you need to find out ways that you can break through in little niches if that fits your business. So that might be a Google My Business account that's very, very niche for a very specific service in a very specific geography. But if you're a very large business and you're hoping to compete on very broad terms, that is an extremely, extremely long game as far as competing organically. The other side of organic would be competing on social. And right now, I'd say probably the best place to compete organically on social would be TikTok. The ban passed today, so we'll see how much longer it's around. I've got a feeling our courts will keep them around for a while, regardless of how you feel. But then as far as the paid side on generation of demand, I still believe Meta, Facebook, and Instagram.
Can you explain Meta a little bit to me? Again, my staff takes care of all that stuff for us, but what is it in a layman's terms?
Sure. Well, actually, it's pretty hard since they changed their name and they've launched so many new initiatives this week to really put them in one box. But I guess it's a software business, a consumer-facing software business, building tools for people to connect, whether that be their new augmented reality glasses, which are pretty darn cool, whether it be Facebook Messenger, whether it be something like a portal where you're calling people, whether that be the traditional Facebook where you're posting, pictures of your friends and family and interacting with potentially businesses, whether it be Instagram where you're posting maybe something live or posting a story, or sometimes even chatting with your friends, sending around different memes to each other. There's Facebook groups where affinity groups, maybe a fishing group or an RV group or a fitness group, get together to talk about something really specifically. I'm in actually a couple of digital marketing groups on Facebook where our community is really tight. I'm in business communities actually on Facebook groups. So there's a lot of different ways for the Meta platform to help people connect. If we're talking really specifically on digital marketing, it's probably 99% ads still. The days of getting good organic reach are difficult, but you could do something like start a Facebook group if you've got a really hardcore group of fans that and your community rallies around something. Maybe that might be a running store has a run club Facebook group. So there's different ways you could potentially have niche organic content. But as far as getting like very wide what used to be called viral reach organically, very, very difficult. Much easier if you're trying to reach a lot of people to use ads. But at the same time, I've seen a lot of businesses with relatively low margins do well with Facebook ads if their business model is proven out. If you're a startup and you're not sure if things are going to work or not, and your unit economics are still a guess, Facebook can certainly be a mystery, especially with the question of, where do I start? How much do I spend? Very difficult if you don't understand your unit economics. But if you've got a sound business, I'd be shocked if you couldn't extend it using Facebook.
Okay. So you're a founder of Matchnode. What does Matchnode do then? Is it doing the analytics or I guess?
At its core, it's matching people with products and services that can at best improve their life. So we work with a lot of different businesses. We work with e-commerce businesses. We work with teams like the Chicago Bulls and Blackhawks. We work with the United Center for some of their suites and premium products, as well as the concerts that flow through the arena. We work with several financial services that can help you get a personal loan, a business loan, an SBA loan, all sorts of things that could potentially financially change your life, as well as we work with different health companies. We work with a really great telehealth company that helps people kick opioid addiction, and they're absolutely making it, a huge help in the world. We work with another different telehealth company that helps women that are experiencing menopause. Obviously, a very unique and important and private time in someone's life. But in all those instances, we're trying to match a business with the person on the other side of that ad. We don't ever think of ourselves as I'm showing an ad to someone. We're matching that business with the person on the other side of that ad.
So without giving away the secret sauce, how do you do that? Is it the retargeting and just trying to find a like audience to an avatar?
So generally speaking, we only work with businesses that are at least, if not national, have a significant footprint or significant ad spend. We do it for a lot of reasons. The main reason is growing our business. It's hard to work with a lot of small businesses, especially just the way we're set up and work and do it profitably. It's easier to work with select really big brands. So for us, the majority of our targeting is done two ways. One, through the AI, and two, through the creative. Writing very specific creative that speaks to a genre of people and communicates our message. And that doesn't mean just a static or just a video. It means static, it means video, it means different formats, it means different lengths, it means speaking to people how they like to use the different platforms. If they're on Reels and they're flipping through, it's interesting, sound is on, but they're flipping through even faster than they are through the feed. You're going a little bit slower, but you're generally on mute. So we're trying to make really specific creative, and then we're trying to use every feature possible to lean into the AI. There's still an amazing amount of people that want to, no, I know better. I want to do it my way and hyper-focus my targeting. We're always leaning to the AI, the new features, the new style of campaigns, the new things that are launching on the platforms. And more often than not, it's putting you in the right direction.
So just utilizing AI, which is literally changing daily, I mean, that's got to be, I don't know how many people are in your organization, but that's got to be full-time work for somebody just to keep up on what's new tomorrow.
Sure. Like there are something new launching out in the ether every day with AI. And again, I read newsletters and stuff, but do I know what's launching every day? No. Most of the current innovations that are out in the market are LLMs to some degree. And that helps me in my business. But the biggest place where we are currently using AI is within the Meta platform and the things that you can automatically opt into around targeting, around optimizations, around changing your ad in different ways and allowing the algorithm to serve things differently. So within the verticals that people operate, I'm sure they have very specific industry use cases that are popping up within the tools they already use. So like our graphic design team had been using Adobe for years. Adobe throws in some new AI features, they adapt right away. So the products that we already use for our profession are doing a lot of the work for us in discovering interesting use cases. Yes, of course, there's always more out there. I'm in a million different Slack groups and email newsletters and trying to stay on top of it. But I don't know if you necessarily need to be on every single tool the moment it pops, because we're going to find winners pretty quickly.
Yeah, for sure. So I've been told over the last couple of years specific to Facebook that there's only a certain number of posts that Facebook will actually allow your friend group or your followers to see, and then it's going to be based off of how much interaction you get if they're going to open it up to more people. Has this changed? Is this still legit? Like I've been told that the magic number was 13 posts a day.
If there's a hard cap, I'm not aware of it, but it's always followed what they used to call edge rank. Could just be called the algorithm. I mean, it's now been at least 12 years since they moved from a chronological feed to an algorithm-based feed. And what's interesting is that the ad platform works the exact same way as the organic stuff. I'm a skier, so it loves showing me my friends skiing. My wife is really into fitness, so she's probably seeing pictures of her friends posting yoga this and recipe that. And then it's equally likely that I'm going to see ads for skiing the same way that she's going to see ads for fitness. So the algorithm is trying to show you posts, whether it be from a business or a person, regardless of things that matter to you. Why does it do that? Two good reasons. One, it helps engagement, which helps time on site, which helps daily active users. So it gets you quote unquote addicted, but engaged within the platform. Two, the way the business model works is businesses are essentially paying for ads on a CPM basis. If Facebook gets really, really good at serving the right ad to the right people, they're effectively crunching those advertisers' budgets on a faster basis every single day. So they're either willing to invest more and raise their own budget with Facebook, or because I ran through my budget so fast, because my ads were so good, I went dark for the rest of the day, and Facebook all of a sudden has this new chunk of impressions to sell to someone else. So it's a really ingenious way for both the business side as well as the engagement side to work together. And it's fundamentally different from Google, and a lot of old school PPC guys can't wrap their head around that, and that you're not just paying for a position, you're trying to create an ad that creates true engagement, and that actually lowers your cost.
Man, that's interesting. And as I'm thinking through what we do currently on social media, I believe we're still kind of going the old school method, right? Like we create our content, we try to get engagement, we get people to talk, and go back and forth with them as much as possible. But I guess we've always just been going off of that. There's a hard set number of posts that we can do, and beyond that, it would be fruitless because nobody's going to see it. So
I'd probably post even less than however you are now, and I would think about how do I create true engagement within this post, and how can I create the best post possible, and how can I get interaction with that post, rather than ever thinking about I want to post this many times.
Okay. Well, like I told you, this is self-serving. I love it. I love it all. So, you're talking about content and messaging. How does relevant messaging, how can that help somebody? I mean, I know that you've got some clients or some work that you've done where you've helped people really increase their revenue just based on relevant messaging. What does that look like?
Testing, and more testing. And like I said, taking it back to the beginning of the podcast, having our tracking set up ahead of time, so I know what's working and I know what's not. But also, again, leaning into AI. So Facebook will let you put 5 different headlines and 5 different copy pieces above every image or video that you're launching. You can also, through dynamic ads, add multiple different versions. You can allow, and then from there, you can even do things like allowing Facebook to put separate text over your image, auto-optimize brightness. It will allow you to flip headlines and copy options and kind of mix and match. And some people are still very, very worried about that. They want the perfect headline in their brain and the perfect piece of copy to align with this perfect image. And this is going to send to a very specific landing page, and it's going to speak to that exact person. That's really, really hard to do. You can do it through really large ad budgets with lots of variations, but it's a heck of a lot easier to jump into the machine and let it help optimize for you and do it more quickly.
Wow, man, that's so interesting. I feel like I have so much to talk to my marketing team about after this. So I guess I did ask you earlier what your favorite platform was. And I think you answered it. It's kind of specific to what your goal is.
It's Meta because of the innovation that's constantly happening.
Okay. Now, if you were to go to Instagram or TikTok.
Well, I consider Instagram to be just part of the family.
Yep. The question is, again, this is things I've heard in the past from other marketers. How many reels or shorts or posts should you be putting out any given day? Let's just assume you're just trying to put out content that's educational, right? You're not necessarily selling anything. We're going to chop up parts of this podcast and put that out in shorts and reels. How much engagement or not engagement? How much should you put out there at any given day, week, month, in your opinion?
Again, I'd go back, I would throw that idea out. I would think, okay, how can I create content that's engaging? And who can I engage with? And what's the tactic? Is it because I'm tagging Brian and his friends? Is it because I'm tagging the Milwaukee Brewers? Is it because I know I'm going to post it on this specific platform and it's going to get engagement in that way? And I would keep posting until I started to find some tactics that worked. And then I'd start to iterate and double down. It's like every post that you put out there that doesn't get any engagement, all you've done is burn your own time. So are you learning something from that post? Or are you, right or wrong? But this kind of content I don't think is working. And, you can try, of course, every single post isn't going to be a stat sig test, but whatever you're putting out there, whatever time you're putting into this content creation, think about it as a test and think about it as much like an ad, even if you're posting organically, because it's your time. You're spending money doing it. So if you're going to take the effort to put it out there, come up with a plan for engagement and come up with a plan for measurement.
Interesting. Yeah, I've had, marketing firms, marketing people that their plan or their map is based off of just numbers, pure numbers. We're going to put out, one post a day on each platform or 10 posts a day on each platform.
It's going to reach 200 people. And on average, 5 of them are going to click. And if we do that over the course of the month, we're going to get X amount of clicks to your website. And if we can convert about 2% of those, that's going to be 10 leads. And you tell me that you can close 10% of your leads. And this is going to come up to this revenue. And this is what we charge. And it looks like an ROI positive, perfect little storm. And I understand why that sells. And it sells to a lot of small businesses that don't have a marketing person on their team or don't have a marketing background. But that's not just a coin flip. That's pretty low odds. You're going to the casino and you're hoping you're making out with your shirt off alive.
So what does the small operator do in because a lot of my listeners are exactly that. They're not the
Sure.
Chicago Bulls with a multi-million-dollar marketing budget.
So it starts with education. So I went to school, I was a marketing major, but I graduated in 2004. I didn't own a computer while I was in college. I didn't even own a flip phone. I wasn't into technology, even though certainly the internet was around. I went to the library to finish all my papers, and that was printed off, and that was good enough for me. When I fell in love with Web 2.0 just a few years later, when blogs started launching, when MySpace was #1, when all of a sudden you're starting to listen to podcasts for the very first time, and Mark Cuban's making moves, putting radio on the internet, the very, very beginning of streams, certainly AOL Instant Messenger was probably the first social network. As that really started to come to life, I became fascinated with the internet, and it had nothing to do with my ability to code. It had everything to do with my curiosity and the creativity that comes with it. And I didn't go back to school to learn something. I learned it all on the fly. And I tell this to college kids when I speak in front of them all the time. I could teach you everything that I know about digital marketing, and it would not matter because it's all going to change. And one of the things we love as digital marketers is we learn how to do something, and rather than keep it to ourselves, we like to put a blog post out about it. We put a social media post about it. We post it on YouTube. There's virtually no topic out there you can't find free education on how to set up tracking. A simple YouTube tutorial. I've got a Wix website, or I've got a Shopify website, or I've got a WordPress website. How do I set up Google Analytics? Really simple things like that are free out there. So I wouldn't focus again on a budget. Like, the Bulls have a large budget for a variety of branding and direct response campaigns. But I would think what I said initially, and I'd think about that tracking. That way, small amounts of dollars can be tracked. And again, I'd start with, if you're such a newbie that no one on your team understands it yet, I would just dive into YouTube or just simple digital marketing blogs out there and learn on the fly. And whether, again, if you can't find it on Google, go to Twitter and throw in a quick X search, or go right to YouTube. there's so many different ways to figure out all the different handles to pull. And then I guess the next question probably is, well, that's a lot. I only have so much time. That's true of anything. But if you're going to spend time on digital marketing, you should start to do it the right way rather than throw money in a black hole.
Yeah, absolutely. Which is what many of us do. We try to take somebody at their word that they're going to get the performance that they claim they can do. And I've had this for several years now. I've been through several marketing firms, and you don't know if they can perform until 3, 4, 5, 6 months into a very expensive venture. And then if they can't perform, you have to start all over again. And it's a
Sure.
frustrating battle.
It
And the whole
is.
point of this show is to help people, live their vision and do what they want to do. And part of that is outsourcing and letting professionals do what they're supposed to be able to do. But I guess this is one that just frustrates the hell out of me.
Well, just like any professional services contract that you go into, of course, really important to vet who you're going into with. Two, I think you really need to understand what is your real time frame. If you enter into any sort of SEO agreement with someone, if you're expecting results in the first year, I think especially meaningful results in the first year, you're probably being sold some snake. Perhaps not. Perhaps there's some niches within something like a Google My Business, and you can break off X amount of traffic. But understanding those time frame expectations is really important. One of the reasons we started off MatchNode the way we do and did is we intentionally never took SEO work because we wanted to show impact from our ads immediately. That's why we've always been direct response focused. We've never been a brand awareness business. We believe strongly that it's really, really important to show the client results within those first 6 weeks. We start all of our engagements on a 90-day sprint so that there is no long-term commitment if we can't show results in that first 90 days. We also then learn the hard way that we shouldn't ever break that and move to 60 days because it does take time to iterate. So there is a mix of understanding what you're purchasing. Is it a long game? Is it a brand awareness game? Is it a DR game? And what is the time frame that's understanding on both sides? And then, of course, talk to as many referrals as possible.
Yeah, absolutely. Man, this has been awesome, Brian. I guess I would like to start winding it down with one of my favorite questions I ask almost all of my guests. What should I be asking you that I haven't?
I guess the simple thing is I'm always happy to help. So if someone needs my help and wants to ask for my help, please reach out. I'm happy to do it.
Okay. Is there a best way to get a hold of you that you
Sure.
prefer?
Just look me up on LinkedIn. It's linkedin.com. My handle's Brian R. Davidson. Pretty easy to find me. And obviously my business name at MatchNode. So feel free to reach out there.
Well, that's awesome. Now, we do have to kind of address a couple things here. So you're wearing a Milwaukee Brewers hat for those that are listening to this and not watching it. And you were born and raised in a Milwaukee suburb for a certain period of time. Then you lived in Chicago for, in my opinion, too long. So are you at all any kind of Chicago Bears or Bulls fan?
The Bulls I grew up as a giant fan of. I remember being at the old Bradley Center. I had a neighbor that was nice enough to give me floor tickets to watch the Bulls in 1992. My mom had a college roommate, a really good friend, who had a box at the top of the United Center, and he was nice enough to invite us to the 98 finals. So I will always have a soft spot in my heart for the Bulls. As a kid, I always thought it was interesting to take the train down and go to White Sox games when the Brewers were playing in possibly the worst stadium in all of baseball, maybe only worse than Wrigley Field. Comiskey seemed like the greatest thing in the world. As far as the Cubs, they are actually my client. So very thankful to have their business. We work on their restaurant group as well as their hotel and all the activities that happen in Gallagher Way, which is sort of the neighborhood park connected to Wrigley. So I have no comment. I did go to game 163 to see the Brewers beat the Cubs. We took off work that day. It was an official MatchNode holiday. So
Nice.
that was fantastic. And I am a proud Packers owner, so I will never be a Bears fan.
That's the main one that I was looking for right there. And for those of you that are listening to the show that none of this makes sense or matters, it's just a rivalry between Wisconsin and Illinois. And it's just part of being in the Midwest. which is awesome. So, but of course we love everybody equally, and I'll be all politically correct maybe someday. But man, I really appreciate, I know you took time out of your day to come on and grace us with your expertise and your knowledge. And it just means the world to me. I really, really appreciate it, Brian.
Absolutely, Derek. Thanks for having me on.
So we're going to wind this up. Those of you listening to this and our loyal followers, new followers, please go like and share this. Give us, 5-star ratings and reviews. And till the next show, go out there, live your vision, love your life. See you next time.
Thank you for joining us on another insightful episode of Generations of Wealth. May your newfound knowledge help you in leveling up your own strategies to get through the many obstacles to your money-making processes and bring you much closer to the financially secure life you truly deserve. Continue filling up your accounts and further polish your financial tactics by listening to more episodes of the podcast at thegenerationsofwealth.com. Because in your wealth-building journey, there is no other way to go but up, giving you the chance to finally live your vision, love your life. That's all for now. See you on the next one.